That was a shot of the Rimouski Marina at sunset, and that's where I spent last weekend covering a marine expedition. This year marks the 90th anniversary of Canada's worst maritime disaster. The Empress of Ireland went down in 1914 in the St. Lawrence River near Rimouski. Over 1,000 passengers drowned. Here's what a team of divers is doing to preserve the ship's history. Welcome to Expedition Empress Base Camp. A crew of 6 from across Canada. They've come to Rimouski to dive the Empress of Ireland shipwreck, one of the world's worst nautical disasters.
There was more paying passengers die on the Empress of Ireland than on Titanic. In Canada, like an author that wrote a book about it was right when he titled his book Forgotten Empress, because as I said, most people don't know anything about the story.
In the early hours of May 29, 1914, the Empress of Ireland was leaving Quebec City on its way to England. Near Rimouski, a dense fog settled in, so thick the Empress never saw the Storstad, a Norwegian icebreaker, heading straight for it. The Storstad rammed the Empress on its starboard side, tearing a 4 by 14 meter hole into it. 270,000 liters of water poured into the Empress. It sank within 14 minutes. 465 people escaped, 1,012 drowned. Some of the bodies are buried in a common grave facing the St. Lawrence. Most have never been claimed. 170 of the victims were members of the Salvation Army.
Many of the leadership of the Salvation Army back in the day were lost, and after what was called Black Friday, the Salvation Army was left in the hands of fairly junior officers, and the Salvation Army had to bring in leadership then from other countries.
The goal of the expedition is to start a full survey of the Empress of Ireland and what's left inside of it, something that has to happen within the next 5 years before the ship and the history that lie beneath these waters lose their battle with time. Divers say the Empress of Ireland sits in a body of water considered so difficult they call it the Mount Everest of scuba diving.
It's a very challenging place to dive. As I say often, I've dived in zero visibility, cold water, strong currents, unstable structures, but this is the only place that I know of, that, at least in Quebec, that all these conditions are all together.
Time for Expedition Empress to test the waters. The team is devoted to recording what's left of the 91-year-old ship. It's been explored before, but never in such a scientific way. In the past, visits were mostly for stealing its treasures, which were later sold to the highest bidders. Jean-Pierre Bouillon used to do just that until the wreck became protected by the Quebec government in 1999. He now takes divers out to see the site. The Empress is a big part of my life, he says. Divers now want to see the wreck and not take from it. But seeing her isn't always easy. The crew tries a few times.
We'll have to wait a little bit. It's too strong.
Without much success.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. That's the strongest current I've ever been in.
Some days the Empress is accepting visitors, and some days she's not. So this is one of them where she's not.
It's a little discouraging. The current, I've never been in a faster current like that before, so that was, couldn't hold on.
This night back at camp, the mood is up again. Tomorrow is another diving day.
Okay, debut, debut, encore from debut.
Another day, another dive. This time it seems the Empress is willing to accept visitors. The divers are finally getting what they came for.
Eventually one day is going to be a pile of debris, and even that's going to disappear. It's going to be silted out, so nothing is going to be left to testify to what happened. and to that piece of history, Canadian history.
That's why it's so important for this expedition to chart the condition of the Empress. Even if it does disintegrate, the site will always be important to these people. A small ceremony, a way to commemorate and salvage what's left of a tragic story that has eroded over time.